Another set of video notes for you. Today we're moving on to 1.2, and the official title is Evaluate and Simplify Algebraic Expressions. That is a lot of big words, and maybe they're even a little scary for some of us. Let's look at it. If it's algebra, it's going to have a letter in it. It's going to have a variable. In other words, expression just means we don't have an equal sign. For us to evaluate or simplify, you've got to remember order of operations. Hopefully that's kind of familiar to you, or you remember something about it. The first thing is you've got parentheses. And when I say parentheses, I don't mean something with just one number in it. I mean something with a whole bunch of things, stuff that you need to take care of before you can do anything else. Okay? Exponents. Hopefully you all remember what an exponent is. It's going to be a very small number written off to the side and kind of up. And what it's saying is not x times 4, but x times itself 4 times. So x times x times x times x. Multiplication and division. Once we've taken care of parentheses and exponents, then we can start doing any multiplying or dividing. Please remember, just like we read in English left to right, that's how you do your multiplication and division. Last part, any addition or subtraction, once again, moving left to right. Before we get too far with this, I want to point something out about exponents. These two terms look really similar. Sorry. They both have a negative, a 5, and a 4, but they're not the same thing. Let's look at this. This is a regular parenthesis, not a bunch of terms, but it is saying that we want to raise this whole thing to the 4th power. In other words, we want to take negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. Okay? Well, if you go through, all we've got now, no parentheses, no exponents, we just need to multiply. So negative 5 times negative 5, 25. Keep going. What is 25 times negative 5? Well, that's negative 125. And when we finally multiply it by the last, we wind up with a positive 625. This is different from this one because notice there are no parentheses. The 4 is only talking about the 5. So we've got that negative 1, or that negative sign out in front, but then we're saying 5 to the 4th power. So in other words, negative 1 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Remember, 4 times because it's the 4. And now we can go through and multiply left to right. Negative 1 times 5, negative 5. Negative 5 times 5, negative 25. Multiply it again by 5, you get negative 125. And when we finally finish, 625 again, but it's negative. You have got to be careful with your signs. Let's go on and look at how to do the next problem. It's called evaluate this expression, negative 4x squared minus 6x plus 11, when x is negative 3. You know what? Evaluate is just a fancy name for saying plug a number in for a letter. And if you say it real grunt like, you sound like a caveman. Plug number in for a letter. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Instead of writing x, we're going to write negative 3. Instead of writing x, we're going to write negative 3. Okay? Now, look at your order of operations. There are no big parentheses here. Yes, I see them, but they're just showing you that number stays together. So, don't have to do step 1. Step 2 says exponents. What is negative 3 raised to the 2nd, or in other words, squared? Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. No exponent here, so I'm just going to write down what I have. See how much work we have to show for one problem? I know you're going to love it. All right, so we took care of the exponents. Now we've got to multiply and divide. Do you see any multiplication here? Oh yeah, when you write two numbers like that, that's what that means. So negative 4 times 9 gives you negative 36. Here's a trickier one. Negative 6 times negative 3 gives you 18. All right, we finished. finish multiplication and division, we just have addition and subtraction. What is negative 36 plus 18? It's negative 18. What is negative 18 plus 11? Negative 7. So when you evaluated, when you plug negative 3 in, you got negative 7, and now you're done. Okay? We have about 2 more concepts to do, but I'm going to come close. I'm going to move my camera over, and then we'll continue. So breathe deeply. Okay. Hopefully that didn't make you motion sick. I'm talking to my camera assistant back there who's helping me. Anyhow, before we can get to the simplified part, we need to just review some things. You're going to work with expressions. Remember, they don't have equal signs. And terms are all the little pieces that you can add or subtract together. So the terms here are 2, negative 5x, negative 6x squared, 7x, and negative 3. Remember, the sign goes with the number that it's right in front of. Now, some of these are never going to change. It doesn't matter what x would be because they are constants. Or in other words, stay the same. So our constants here are 2 and negative 3. Anything that has a letter in it or a variable is called a variable term. So our variable terms are negative 5x, negative 6x squared, and 7x. Okay? The last vocab word I want to share with you today is coefficients. Those are the numbers that are in front of the variables, or in the variable terms. So what's with the x? Negative 5. What's with the x squared? Negative 6. What's with this x? A 7. You will have homework problems where I will ask you what are the terms, what are the constants, and what are the coefficients. Okay? Now you've got a model for that. The last thing we're going to look at is simplify. You're going to get a lot of, here, hang on, I think we need to move. You're going to get a lot of problems that will say simplify. And what does that mean? Well, really, simplify is a fancy term for saying combine like terms. Okay? But before you can even do that, so I'm going to write it above, you have to worry about order of operations. Okay? Now, the other thing we got to review, like terms, remember, same variable and same exponent. Okay, let's try it. So here's an expression. Notice they all have the same variable, they all have a p in it. However, they're not like terms because some have a 2 and this one has a 1, but this one has a 2. So this guy and this guy, or those terms, are considered like terms. What is 5 minus 2? Well, it's 3, and your variable part stays the same. Okay? We also have this little plus p. Oh, p's again, but wait a minute. Can't do anything. This one's squared and this one's not. So this is as simplified as it gets. It's not going to wind up being a nice number like those other ones. It's going to be an expression, which means adding or subtracting, things going on. Let's look at this last problem. Now, remember, we got to think about order of operations. Hey, wait a minute, there's parentheses and there's a number out front. I bet a lot of you remember that means we're going to distribute. So we have to multiply the 3 times the y. You get 3y. You also have to multiply the 3 times the 2, and you get 6. That's not one many people struggle with. The struggle is going to be on the second part, because we also need to distribute here. Negative 4 times y, I think most of you would say negative 4y. Good job. However, notice when you multiply this by what comes second, that's negative 4 times negative 7. That gives you a positive 28. Remember, the sign goes with the number it's in front of. Okay, so we don't think about the y being negative, it's the 7. Negative 4 times negative 7 gives you your plus 28. Good. Now we are down to combining like terms. Or, well, I should say this. We need to look at adding or subtracting. We took care of our parentheses and our multiplying. Let's go to adding. Do you see anything you can add 3y to? Well, certainly not 6. This has a y, this doesn't. Oh, wait a minute. 3y and negative 4y, they both have a y, and it's to the first. What is 3 minus 4? Negative 1y. Some of you might be so used to this, you just call it negative y, and that's fine. Anything else? Oh, wait a minute. This is just a plain old number, and this is just a plain old number, so we can combine those. Those are considered like terms. What is 6 plus 28? It's 34. So whether you write it the top way, showing me the 1, or it's just kind of an understood one, either way I'd accept these answers. See you in class when we get to practice this some more. Bye.